Vocabio. Master English your way.
Lots of screens, switches, and knobs, and then he also has 2 hand controllers there.
Historia del bullying. ¿Cómo arrastrarte?
And all of these knobs we get to turn to identify which planets would be the most likely.
Their chair, they cover her up with bags. Mob storms the streetcar. You look around. Are you the only one here?
We have, full control. What knobs do we really have? So we have, you described,
of Chongqing, who obviously fancied himself as a rival to Xi. When he was brought down, people sort of talked.
We have enormous amounts of capital. It doesn't rival that, the US, but we are very good, as Katie pointed out.
As the nature ancient fae in the game Rival Kingdoms, where I used to be a community manager. And that brings...
as it ascends to rival the United States, as it has been doing.
The Ring of Power from Lord of the Rings. Your rival, I will say.
Crazy stuff they're adding in, with you do this combo to get this thing, and you have to play certain sequences of notes.
It sounds kind of like a weird combo, but I promise it's real good. Our friend Mo.
I can't beat. It is a great combo. So in the book, I've done it with like a burnt honey.
That I was like, okay, I had this combo, and now next week I'm about to have this combo, and I was moved.
I would say that's like my favorite combo. Good to know. Yeah, I love salty sweet. It's
daughter in my wallet, so I had to slap that on there. But in mental health, we use transition.
Here, it barely even qualifies as a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. So we've got...
They're like a slap in the face. They're meant to shock you.
When I got to the door, the capo slapped my face and yelled at me, "Where are you going?"
That, I like you. I always thought that she's going to slap me. So for many years, I couldn't date a girl.
And she is an event specialist, although that doesn't even do it justice. She
A board challenger, the second shuttle orbiter, mission specialist Ron McNair is at the console.
Being a certified peer recovery specialist, the Virginia Certification Board defines a CPR act.
One of the favorite things market specialists point to is we've got periods when the bond...
Connolly is, as Anna was saying, a specialist on the Russian economy, an associate fellow at the Royal United Service.
And negotiating with that salesperson back and forth. And you consider, does this fit in?
And so you didn't have to be a born salesperson to be able to ask those questions, but you have to.
Others have gone home. It's the salesperson who makes 80 cold calls per day, 5 days per week.
Most people don't want a call from a salesperson at 9 a.m. on a Thursday because they're working.
Digital media strategy salesperson. And so essentially I was able to combine that personal finance knowledge.
A dude ranch. And I became friends with the blacksmith who used to shoe the horses. And
before it was even called the surf ranch because everything was private and secret.
Out on the ranch building a fort in the creek where my only rule was be home by dark. So
to me, okay? I love me some ranch dressing. Any ranch lovers in the house? Thank you for admitting it.
Really make people happy.
Yeah, and our ranch dip. We have a ranch
ramen
dip
ranch
in
dip.
there. It's so good.
Make you a millionaire, but treat us without caution, trash is treacherous, and can drown the...
Starliner had a transient caution around the time of the burn, no action.
Spacesuits, is that an overabundance of caution, or is Ebola really that infectious?
That's a good question.
And the pilot, Mike Smith, has cleared the caution and memory system.
Of just who we are, but caution is part of that. And I think we all have to take into consideration.
God willing, in my lifetime, in the next 10 to 15 years. I'll just say one,
I always say this is the most important election of my lifetime and your lifetime. My sense is that it is.
The memories and experiences that you've gathered during a lifetime, you're essentially, the way I describe it in the book is...
In China, in your lifetime. I know it's too big.
It's something that you go after for a lifetime. And certainly within sports,
Okay, I see there's a gentleman here, first of all. I would like to hear also from some ladies.
Give us a bit of a wave for the gentleman with the microphone. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful if you stand up.
We have roving microphone. Gentleman in the stripy top there, first of all.
Over there, we got the gentleman in the, I think it's second or third row, with a white and blue shirt there.
So we make best use of the time. Let's take the gentleman there.
I'll try and make answers brief because that's usually the
lady there.
And of brave truth tellers and provocateurs, the risk-reward calculus is skewed beyond recognition.
We, the storytellers, we, the truth tellers, we, the people who are bearing witness, are the ones who are
our co-conspirator in this project. We are the tellers of stories. We tell stories through dance.
I touched on it. Sense of discovery. It's become part of popular culture.
Melanin magnificence. Teller of truths, creator of paths for our community.
Grandmaster Flash Furious 5, it was disco guys, Jerry Curls, lots of girls. All of them look like drug dealers.
And previously that summer, my aunt had gave me a S curl. So like my
pigtails on the side with like big anime curls. It's in my closet.
Photographer of the award-winning film Chasing Kърl and Chasing Ice. Chasing Kърl received the U.S. documentary.
My dog lover, and he's actually curled up on the bed right behind me. And
I think it's a pithy, well-meaning phrase, but it's based on a few unchecked assumptions that make it
legitimacy. Performance legitimacy is a phrase the Chinese have often quoted at me. Are they?
He likes talking in these earthy phrases about buttoning up your jacket from, getting the top button right to do the...
From my opponent, you might hear a similar phrase. Abolish? Well...
Start with that phrase, AI superpower, and see what both of you think.
If Xi Jinping got sick tomorrow, the standing committee would elect a new...
Well, the Foreign Affairs Committee of the British Parliament said the basic identified.
I give up the show, so I said I'll be on the committee. I'll help raise some money. I'll provide media.
It's no good just thinking you can sit down, have a committee meeting, or take a vote and move.
It means is a committee basically. It's a self-governing committee, and I think that.
Don't wear that jean skirt. Don't wear that khaki skirt. Take them off.
It's in the khaki pants and the sharp navy suits and ties and.
This was very much a khaki election. It was also the run-up to Iraq.
And Sarah sort of shaking her head from her perch in London, but, having spent, God knows, 30...
The wall, we came upon a small perch atop a detached flake, some 16 inches.
Of democracy where I had a perch to see the comings and goings of Congress in the wake of a catastrophic...
Standing microphones, you can see them there, and I can see one perched up there on the gallery. I will try and come to the...
Old model of that, like perch space, and this is the new model.
Barrent ball, I thought, well, hang on a minute, maybe it was a scenery issue. The wheel's a bit visually unstimulating, right? But
medical aid, and that kind of scenario was there. And then from there we boarded the train.
Mindfully reflect, I feel like, and it has the perfect scenery to give you that. But I think the amazing...
refers to primarily natural scenery. That's not exactly what we do.
As mandar tabi'i, natural scenery, which is an outdated.
By ʻraɪ.vəl, a recent Hunter grad who interned with us on the show last season and is found.
Watch as the guy we called the Beijing summer intern roll into our networks at 10 a.m. Beijing time and roll out.
And work like, you are the intern. You're going to get what you deserve. You're going to get all the things that you...
I had a degree in commercial advertising, and the whole time I was interning with fashion photographers and commercial photographers.
Assigned seating, usually beside other interns or recent graduates, rather than an
about Nigeria in relation to memory. It's as if memory...
We do know there's a very close relationship between the gut and the mind. So it may be I've just...
maximize. But there's been studies about the relationship of money to these. And the argument is...
of the European Council on Foreign Relations and a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times.
Lines
wanted the real power relations. I mean, I think, by the way, I thought that the
5 mothers and 32 siblings. And I can literally name.
Me and my younger siblings were raised between refugee camps and UN reports.
My father and a few others came, and his siblings came over to Canada in 1956 from Hungary after the Holocaust and the Hungarian Revolution.
Find that there's a friendly sibling rivalry or competition between the two of you, or how do you guys continue?
Bidding right now at $100, and paddles go in the air, and I say sold to the first one I saw.
So one of my I paddle outrigger canoes, and so I'm connected to the Polynesian voyaging community.
Freshwater boaters that are out paddling just about every single day, rowing across oceans and marine.
At Chopu, we couldn't get on a boat, so my friend and I paddled out from the beach, and I was swimming in the water with it.
When you try to catch a wave, it's called paddling. And there's no waves if you try to even...
So that as many of the variables answered so that I could fall forward, fall into the cast, fall...
If you've been doing lowercase, you're going to call this a var chart. Remember I told you it's going to be either text or var chart?
Have different variability at elevations. That's reflecting environmental adaptation.
I was, working with the state of South Carolina actually on doing a program.
I would say it's a very varied facade, but that was exactly what.
All those advertisements of certain products that probably don't even exist anymore.
Fraudulent, all the fraudulent advertisements that are on there that
to show you an advertisement and see how companies utilize mood congruency to penetrate.
Liked putting their advertisements in print newspapers while they had them in.
Until a chance sighting of an advertisement to join a football team provided the momentum to turn.
Brandon, I throw it for the homeless. Not to toot my own horn, but I use my privilege to help those who don't.
In their commemorative edition, and if I could toot my horn for one moment, I'm the only publication that pays.
I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that to point out that a construction.
The reason I think I have been so successful, not to toot my own horn, but a part of the reason that I've been so successful.
In their commemorative edition, and if I could toot my horn for one moment, I'm the only publication that pays.
Maybe those pretty lifeguard stations. So what more beautiful than our concept?
He did this study in a bunch of different settings. He did a similar thing with lifeguards. And he found that lifeguards became 21% more.
The sunscreen. People such as lifeguards, construction workers, agricultural and farm workers are exposed to
full-time students. They can now get a job as a lifeguard like I did and other jobs.
I was a lifeguard, so I was always lifeguarding, and there was no...
The Detroit Police Department, what they would do is they bust in the door, arrest everyone, charge them
around, which I probably would have taken the path of futzing around and traveling and stuff, but she decided to be more prudent.
It was the image of the collapse. When I started to fuss with it, I was like, you need to be a certain way. Like, I want you to be that form.
Quarry and don't fuss around with them anymore. I mean, if you start
about something, you can, fuzz it a little. You can write these long sentences with complicated.
Every continent, run a marathon, you're in the Antarctic race in November. All you need to do is go to every continent.
I'll give you a couple of examples from recent Antarctic history that parallel this problem really well. So to start with,
body of water between Argentina and the Antarctic Peninsula. It's called the Drake Passage, and you can.
I've had the privilege of working in 3 major areas of the Antarctic. Down in the bottom part of the screen, you'll see McMurdo Sound.
In 1910, the Antarctic Nimrod expedition was in trouble.
The reason Trump wants to ram through Amy Coney Barrett, he will then, the court will not
just at NYU, but at Coney Island Hospital, where my wife's mother worked for 30 years. Dishes when I was 15 years old at Coney Island in New Baltimore, Michigan, so a little bit.
Waiter, a Coney Island barker in the wintertime.
Through the appointment of Amy Coney Barrett to have this majority.
It's basically just a piece of plywood and a kitchen chair, and I'm standing on that chair.
Paint were replaced with timber studs and veneer plywood and MDF. This was
much between two layers of plywood, allow for
the meetings, and then a bunch of just typical plywood that we'll use to actually act as shelving in the location
of their contemporaries, with bent plywood furniture, cork floors, wood screens, and paneling.
Private businesses, and I just went to Denmark, where in Aarhus they have a reusable cup program.
There's a school teacher in Denmark that discovered an object that's really, really rare.
The tax rate, if she were in Denmark, would start at 50%. It takes us to the argument that
from Legos from Denmark and Singapore public transit
worked incredibly well in places like Sweden and Denmark, and incredibly badly in places like Russia.
3 players from the United States, or in a squad, maybe 6 players, you know, and also.
You go in the gym one day, and your back squat went down by 15 pounds, and you come to me and you're like, Jason, what the fuck happened?
Has bench press, squats, deadlifts, curls, crunches. You can do.
Listen, so Brandon, if you get under a squat rack and you put more weight on the bar, it's gonna be
really important to us for bone density, squats and deadlifts, to make sure that we are ready to be able.
From genetic variation, shows an unraveled chromosome down to the level of the double.
Invented, imposed by a species half a chromosome away from the chimpanzee.
Hormones, chromosomes such as XY and XX, hormone levels mainly.
Into 23 pairs of chromosomes. Chapters, if you will, in the book that is our genome.
By a species half a chromosome away from the chimpanzee. It shows, doesn't it?
They don't want to do. Sure, you can threaten, burpees or what have you, the equivalent in your sport.
Ups, dips, and something called burpees. So it's about a
strength training. You love those squats, you love those burpees. Maybe you don't, but they're great for you. And start to
awkward silence. That too.
Deliberately open on both sides so that the thinness of the shelf display its content to the
interest or advantage to studying thinness. And one of the things that we didn't talk about was that you actually
deal with the kind of thinness of contemporary architecture, the laminar quality, where there's a vapor barrier
and transparent unit. But it's a combination of those things.
Hahn and Venturi, where thickness and thinness are part of a.
Simply get rid of race altogether. However, the simplicity and ease of an open-ended question.
Pessimism there, but there's also a certain simplicity to it, and there's a certain appeal to it because.
Su generosidad para conmigo, su sencillez. Cómo abrió las puertas de su casa.
I enjoy sharing the story because it's about the absolute simplicity around how we can move around in the world. This
comfortable way of cooking with ease and simplicity, and we can talk more about that in a minute.
Beast work. I also have some stationery, which has been really fun to develop, and
the stationery and printing business. Right up to 2002.
Stationary, you just move the dough. Now, while
student at Leroy Junior Senior High School, a cheerleader, she wakes up from a nap with a stutter.
Necessarily want to see, cheerleaders on a pro level. You can say that on the college level.
I didn't really play sports. I was a cheerleader, which is considered a sport, but you didn't.
And I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader when you're up here.
I said it slightly differently as a cheerleader for the city, and I quote, New York is a magnet
of truth to it. I think it's on a long horizon, but the irony around the privacy concern.
Expand humanity's horizons while still protecting the heritage of our priceless.
What we're really talking about is just time horizons. We're talking about turning transactional things that tend to happen in
dusk. Sun was deep into the horizon, and I just got out.
On the horizon, on the imminent horizon of seeing.
In California, the Department of Fish and Wildlife are using these data to build a marine health early warning system.
20,000 acres of wildlife habitat for survival. And over the years, we've told...
It was my first experience watching wildlife in one of America's grandest ideas.
Like the environment and animal wildlife, which is all progress. So we're about to see a
weird parasite in wildlife in Canada's north, and suddenly my plans to be a pet vet shift.
Designers as like the form kind of like givers and the material specificators. No?
Basically, either give an inactivated virus. So it's like the Covaxin that we have.
As though I was a bestower of truth, a giver of happiness and the peace of mind that I had myself.
Either education, endowment givers to consider more grassroots anti-racist.
That can be another thing for like the gift giver that loves giving, to give them, you know, like.
Today, I woke up without a head-pounding hangover. Today, I woke up in my bed.
Infrastructure of prisons, which largely is a hangover from the Victorian era. In fact, we still have many prisons.
So if you ever drink a bottle of wine and you wake up with a hangover, it's not always the sulfites. Everyone blames it on the sulfites.
Because they drink the right amount and they're complete jerks.
And then when you wake up, you've got a bit of a hangover. So that gives you a kind of challenge to get rid of that for a bit. And
host and hostesses, it's just fantastic. I just think
the get ahead makes it possible for the hostess or the host to be part of the party, right? Not just
ecology, including particularly the hostesses who usually were putting these salons on and bringing people to
the server, the cook, the manager, the hostess, the dishwasher. Everyone is representing,
which is about I think like a half milliliter. So it's kind of, in my mind, it's cost of doing business.
In coffee, more or less, is 100 milliliters in water. For you prepare all methods. Is the basic.
Dioxide concentration in milliliter per liter. It says
together. It's increasing its coal burn. The world can't stand China increasing its.
Have been burned throughout history, like, you know, effectively communicating.
And not just singly, but collectively, to burn down.
Is that it's a much more slow burn crisis. She's been in office a year. It's much.
And by the way, the Indians, they ought to burn coal to get electricity for their 1.2 billion.
Carefully against a tendon to elicit the jerk of a reflex, gently probing skin with the point.
Humans are dumber, weaker-willed, and
her family, her friends are like, jerk. But then to the boy.
And explain to people like, hey, I'm not a jerk. I just have a jerky face. So I.
Bad person. And I wasn't a jerk. And I wasn't, but what I was having to.
We have a situation where we want to take vital organs out of beings and give them to other beings. And as a consequence.
Which is that tiny snail-like organ in the inner ear. Now, inside the cochlea.
Through media OLED, there are party organs to monitor them, and let alone the gigantic internal.
Adipose tissue protects our internal organs and keeps us warm. Fat is here to help.
It was a sort of organizational awareness. There was a name that you gave.
There is that he didn't used to have that, and then in a rainstorm it filled up the lab with water, which he referred to as his first signal.
It's when you have a rainstorm and the stormwater goes into the
journey, should we say, to get there. And then this huge rainstorm when we arrived, there was a power cut. I was in this tiny.
Our sneakers in a gutter after a rainstorm and watch them float away.
Is not famous for its rainstorms. So there you have it. He launches the search for.
People they've got babysitters, they've got dogs to feed, they've got all kinds of things. You know, they're trained to.
The pleasure of making friends with other parents, sharing babysitters and after-school pickups, even sharing holiday.
Librarian, we were too poor to have babysitters and daycare after preschool, and so we would.
Who told him that could the babysitter instead of him take them to the.
I don't realize I said, Dad, your babysitter was George Washington Carver. How young.
Toggle between your fat and your carb
buttons. But where you don't want to get too out of whack is on protein.
Could be made to use less carbon, produce less carbon, but the electricity sector is only 25%.
Body fat, obviously, you lower your carb intake, take a more high protein diet, put more cardio.
May a choice, like cavities. If you look at the teeth of
eat sugar and eat unhealthy food and eat high carb food and high fat food and so on. But there are now.
I work with some vegan clients. One of my WWE wrestlers is vegan. It's her choice. I try every week.
Of course, the sumo wrestlers are magnificent, and Kyoto doesn't have that. Tokyo has it 3 times.
Try wrestling with the female Olympian wrestler who won a gold medal, and then you can do
displaying my legs for hip control like a wrestler pinning an opponent. I yelled for help. All right, 56.
He was built like a wrestler, ran over everyone in football, played guard on the
Vocabio, available in Google Play. Download, discover, improve your English.